Hey guys, it's Alexis, aka The Soft Reader, and I'm here today to do my February book haul. I didn't set out to buy many books this month, and I still don't think I did, but I did place 2 internet orders that kind of pushed it over, one of which I actually ordered last month, but I, for reasons, didn't get until this month. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and get into it. So the first 4 books I'm going to mention I purchased on Amazon because they were super cheap, and it was inspired because last month I read Every Heart Adored by Seanan McGuire on audiobook. I listened to it on audiobook when I was going on a trip, and I really liked it. I liked it so much that I decided I wanted to own my own copy of it, and so basically I looked it up on Amazon, and it was like $6 on Amazon or something like that, so I went ahead and picked it up, but I know that if I got like $35 worth of books, it's like free shipping. So that led me to go, oh, I might as well pick up more books. The next book I picked up in that Amazon haul was Finnegan of the Rock by Melina Marchetta. I don't really know what this one is about, but I know that a lot of people consider this to be like a super underrated YA fantasy series. And I know that Reagan over at Peruse Project talks about how much she loves the series all the time, and I figured, sure, I'm open to giving it a shot. The next book I also picked up in that haul was The Thief by Megan Whalen Turner. Kind of a similar situation. I don't really know what this one is about, but Jane over at It's Jane Lindsay read the series, I guess, over the past couple months, and she talked about how much she really likes this series, so it was cheap and I figured I'd pick it up. The last book I picked up in that haul was another booktuber recommendation, kind of, and that was The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I know that both April at Aprilius Maximus and Sandy at Sandy Reads a Lot both have read the series and really enjoyed it, and I also know that people say it's like supernatural Criminal Minds, and Criminal Minds is one of my favorite TV shows, so I figured that I have really no reason not to pick this up. Also, it was cheap and free shipping on Amazon, so. Now, every other book that I bought in store this month that wasn't placed with the other book order that I got from Book Outlet, they're all new releases. So that's kind of my thing, is that last year I bought a lot of books. Over the course of the entire year I probably bought like 200 books alone, and that's ridiculous, and I do not have money to do that anymore. So I kind of have decided that, with the exception of cases where like Book Outlet orders where I can get a bunch of books for cheap, in store, full price, I'm only buying new releases, ones that I'm pretty guaranteed to enjoy, so either ones that I've heard things about that I am like, oh, I totally know I'll enjoy it, or books where I've read the previous book by this author, or it's a sequel in a series, that kind of thing. So the next 5 books I'm going to mention are all new releases, and I'll go ahead and start with the first 2 I bought together when I went in to buy this second book on its release date, but in the same time, in the same visit, I picked up Wires and Nerves by Marissa Meyer with art by Doug Holgate, and I also picked up King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard. Of course, this is the 3rd book in the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard, a series that I have really read and enjoyed. They're not perfect by any means, but they're kind of really like trashy fun, and I enjoy them. And Wires of Nerves is actually a graphic novel companion to the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer, all about the android character of Iko, however you say it. And so I was really excited to pick up both of these, and I went in to pick up King's Cage on release day, saw Wires and Nerves, and went, yeah, of course I'm going to pick that up too. So fast forward to February 21st, and believe me that there were a couple of other releases that came out in that time period that I thought about going to get, but ultimately I didn't, because either as these books had come out they kind of hadn't gotten really good reviews, or in the case of We Are Okay by Nina LaCour, it's not even 300 pages and they want me to pay $18 for it, and I'm not going to. That's not a fair trade-off in my opinion, no matter how good the book might be. So fast forward to February 21st, where actually February 20th, because I did get this book a day early, which was amazing. So February 20th I went to the mall in the hopes that they would have this book early, and they did, and that was A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. I've said time and time again that this was my most anticipated release for the year. And so I was super excited my bookstore had it early. Of course I have already read this, but I'll save that for my review. Actually you probably already saw a little bit about it when you saw my if you watched my February review, which I will link down below. But this is the third and final book to the Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. One of my favorite series by one of my favorite authors. And yeah, it was good. And this cover is so gorgeous. So, fast forward again to this past Sunday, which was February 26th. The Barnes & Nobles by me is usually, they put out books pretty early. Like sometimes as soon as they get them in, they'll put them out. Especially with young adult. I find that when it comes to literary fiction stuff, they'll hold it, but with young adult, they usually just put it out as soon as they get it. So, on Sunday, I went in the hopes that they would have The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas already out, because that's also one of my most anticipated releases for the year. So, I figured, good chance they'll probably have it out. So I went. They actually didn't have The Hate You Give out early, which was such a bummer to me because I was hoping to get it on Sunday and maybe read it, before February was up. But instead, they had another new release that's not actually supposed to come out for like another week. But for whatever reason, they had this one early. And I'm definitely excited to get into this one. And that is The Inexplicable Logic of My Life by Benjamin Ellery-Sans. Of course, this is the second novel by the author of Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe, which I read 2 years ago and I liked. So I don't fully remember what this book is about, but I know that this one doesn't really focus on romance. It focuses more on friendship and family, and I believe one of the main characters I believe has queer parents, and of course it does follow a Mexican-American family, as obviously that is something Benjamin Ellery-Sans can definitely has something to say about it. So they didn't have The Hate You Give out early, but they have this one out early, so of course I went ahead and picked it up. I'm filming this on February 28th, which means the first thing I did, no kidding, when I woke up this morning was immediately go pick up The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, because I'm so excited for this book. And I have already started reading it, but I love the cover. The cover is so powerful, and like the back of it, and I'm so excited to be able to actually just sit down and read this book, because I would not be surprised if I have a lot to say about this book. The book itself has a lot to say, and I won't be surprised if this ends up being one of the most game-changing books in YA. So the last thing I'm going to show you is I did order a book outlet order about a week ago, and it came today, which was perfect. I would say this isn't my typical book outlet order. My book outlet orders typically do feature a pretty substantial amount of YA. And this one actually features 2 nonfiction books and 3 literary fiction books. So I even surprised myself a little with this particular crop of books, but all of these books have been on my radar for a pretty decent amount of time. So when I saw that they were all pretty cheap, I jumped at the chance to pick them all up. The first book I got in this particular book outlet order is the one I'm most excited for, and that is In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park. I just heard so many powerful things about how powerful of a memoir, of a story this is. And I happen to know a little bit about Yeonmi Park after this book came out. She did a lot of speeches and stuff, and so I've watched a lot of those, so I am pretty familiar with the story, but I've never actually read it, of course, so I definitely am going to try to pick this one up this year, because it's a story I've been meaning to read for a while, just because of how insightful and powerful it is, of course, of her journey from North Korea. The other nonfiction book I got is going to be, no surprise to some of you, and that is the Ron Chernow Alexander Hamilton biography. So, of course, no surprise, I'm a big fan of Hamilton, and this was on Book Outlet for like $6. When in store it's $20, which is fine, but it's also a floppy paperback, and originally I wasn't going to buy this because a friend of mine owns it, and I was just going to borrow it from her, but with me moving in a couple months, I don't know if I'm going to get around to reading and returning her copy, so I saw this one at Book Outlet for $6 and I was just like, perfect. The next 3 are just some literary fiction books I picked up. Like I said, they've been on my radar for a while, so I just decided to go ahead and pick them up. And so the first one I picked up is Eileen by Otessa Moshfa, and I believe this was in the shortlist for the Man Booker Prize either last year or the year before, I don't remember. But I love the cover for this book, but this book has been on my radar since I first heard about it in like a BuzzFeed article or something. And it's basically about this woman named Eileen who I think she works for like an all-boys correctional facility or something. It takes place in the 60s and it's about her getting pulled into this crime, but it's also a lot about like Eileen's character, and I believe it's told in the future of Eileen looking back at like the incident and everything. And so yeah, I mean, it got a lot of praise, especially with its entry onto the Man Booker list. So yeah, I just saw it for super cheap and figured I'd go ahead and pick it up. The next one I got is kind of an odd choice, but it's a book I've been looking at for a while, like I said with the other ones on this, and this is The History of Loneliness by John Boyne. And so basically this is the story of an Irish Catholic priest in the midst of kind of the time when a lot of Catholic priests were being accused of being, you know, child predators. And it's basically, I guess, about him having his faith tested or whatever. So, funny story, okay? I have a really rocky relationship with religion, which is not something I'm going to talk about in this video because it doesn't really matter. But I was raised by and in a Catholic family. So for some reason, I usually don't enjoy reading books about religion, but for some reason, the story of like an Irish Catholic priest dealing with a lot of stuff that I remember growing up hearing about on the news and whatever, I don't know. Something about it just really intrigued me, and I know a lot of people say that John Boyne is a really fantastic writer, so for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I've been looking to pick this one up for like a year since I first heard about it when it came out, so finally got a copy of it. The last book I'm going to show you is the book that is the book for one of the movies coming out later in the year that I said was on one of my most anticipated releases. And this is one of the ones that, like, I don't know why, but I really was intrigued to read it, and that is The Dinner by Herman Cook. This basically tells the story of 2 families in Amsterdam, and it all takes place over the course of a dinner where they're trying to come to terms and figure out that what happened with their 2 15-year-old boys have committed some crime, and they're kind of just trying to figure out, like, I guess who was responsible, who was the ringleader, you know, who should take responsibility for the crime, and it's kind of, you know, all pleasantries, but it's really tense. And I like stories that typically play with setting like that, where it all takes place in a short amount of time, and it's all just really tense, and it's not a really long story itself, but I was really interested to check out the movie when it came out, so I saw this on Book Outlet for super cheap and figured I'd go ahead and pick it up. Alright guys, so those were all of the books I purchased in the month of February. Again, not too many, but I did place a couple online orders, which, you know, kind of pushed it over a little, but I don't suspect I'll be buying too many books in March just because, to begin with, I think there were only 2 releases in March I was really excited for, and one of them is a book I got in this month, so, not to mention, again, like I said, with me moving in a couple months, I'm trying to not buy more shit that I'm gonna have to pack up, so. But you guys should let me know down below maybe what books you got this month, or if you purchased any of these and you've already read them. No spoilers in the comments, but you're welcome to try and talk to me about them, and I'll see you guys soon with another video.